Hey there, this is Gabe Boulanger. I wanted to talk to you about the guarding of your online accounts. This is video 2 of 3, so it's a series of 3 videos. Now, the online accounts are important in securing your business. So the second video, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is auditing for intrusions. So when we're talking about the online accounts, we're talking about accounts like your email, your banking, maybe your social media, even a computer that you log into could be tied into an account like a Microsoft 365 account. So even that kind of account is considered a login account. So this is really a way for small businesses to leverage what they do to secure their company. So you can get a lot of protection by focusing in on securing your online accounts. So auditing for intrusions. So this is the second part of the video. So how do we know if our online accounts are vulnerable, or if there's been an intrusion? It is possible that someone could be in your account right now, one of your online accounts, without you knowing. And so, are you vulnerable to that, or maybe an intrusion has occurred? So we're going to talk a little bit about auditing the intrusions here. So sorry about that. I had you on the slide. So yeah, so I want to talk a lot about auditing the intrusions or checking for vulnerabilities in your online accounts. And we're going to go over that kind of thoroughly. So this will really help in understanding, where you're vulnerable with your securing your online accounts, and if you have ways to check and see if there's been an intrusion. So let's go back to the slide. So yeah, so let's talk first of all about a story that happened. Mitchum Jewelers bank account. What happened to them? They're a family-owned jewelry store, and someone gained access to their account, their bank account. They did this with a phishing email. And if you were watching before, the phishing email is one of those emails you get that looks like it might come from the bank, or it's some kind of urgent thing like click here to update your password right away. When you click that phishing email, it'll go into a website that looks maybe exactly like your bank. You'll type in your bank card and your old password, because it may ask for the old password. And they may even give you this fake way to update your password. But meanwhile, they've captured your bank account password. So that's what the phishing emails are about. That's their approach. Send you the email. It looks legitimate. You can click on it. And then, you're putting a password into what you think is your bank account, when really you're giving the password, your real password, to the hackers. And now they can go into your account right away and take over the account. So I'll get into that in a little bit of time here. So what happened with them was they had that phishing email and they gained access to the account. So that means they got the username and password to get into their bank account. So once they had control, they changed the password and recovery information. So this means that not only was the holder of the bank account locked out, they didn't know the password, but they couldn't recover the password. When you go like click here to recover the password, it might ask you to send an email or a text to get a code to prove that it's you. Well, if they've changed those recovery options, like the cell phone number where the text goes, or the recovery email address, or the recovery methods, now you're out of luck. You're totally locked out of the account. And in this case, for the bank account, that's what happened to these people. Kind of unlucky. So the intruders transferred funds out of their bank account, and obviously that caused some immediate financial strain. So, Matt and Stephanie, they discovered the breach when they couldn't access their bank account. So, they only figured it out after. They had to go through a whole bunch of hurdles to prove their identity. It took weeks of effort and involvement of the police before they could regain access to their bank account. So this is a real thing that happened to a small business, losing access to their bank account. Can you imagine not getting access to your bank account for weeks? All the things that might have happened. So, the online account focus here is really, it really makes a lot of sense. It's leverage, it's power over a lot of the things that hackers are doing to, hurt us or bad actors. So that's the story for Mitchum Jewelers bank account hack. This one is for CE4 or less email account hack. Now, email is really important too. You might even think that it's as important as a bank account, or maybe even more important with a bank account because of all the things you can access and do with email addresses and email accounts. So what happened with CE4 or less is that their primary email account was hacked. They got access to the account. They quickly changed the password and recovery options, um, effectively locking out the legitimate users from their email. Now that'd be a little scary too. And when we say locked out, again, you may have a way to click here because you forgot your email password. So when you go through the process, it's going to want to send a code to your phone or send a recovery email to your backup email address. That was all changed as well. So they were locked out of the account. So we're talking about a serious problem here. So what did the hackers do in this case? Well, they started sending out phishing emails to all of CE4 Less's customers. So they're now trying to steal the information from CE4 Less's clients. Now, they would trust emails from CE4 Less because they know them. They probably dealt with them for years, and now they're trying to steal information. So I can't even imagine all the potential, trouble this is causing, loss of reputation, maybe people suffering loss themselves, like your clients, and loss of trust, maybe even getting sued for allowing this to happen. So a lot of things going on there, none of them good. So after several weeks of persistent effort before CE4LS managed to regain control of their email account, they finally got access. They had to set up a new email account in the interim. So you can imagine the amount of loss and damage was huge. Also the cost to, spend all that time getting your account back up, setting up a new email account. When you lose access to your email account, you're losing access to your email, your contacts, your calendar, your tasks. There might be a lot of confidential old information you have, old email. They could download all this information, set it aside. And then so when the person does regain access to the account, they still have all your old email and all the information that it contains. So it's a big problem. So this is the reason why online account security matters. Like, why should I bother? It's not going to happen to me. I'm small, etc. So I just kind of wanted to cover that, a lot of the reasons small business owners cite for not improving cybersecurity is the cost. They're just not aware of the issue. So hopefully we're helping you helping you to become aware of the problem with, not having secure online accounts. And again, this is just one aspect of your cybersecurity. It's not everything, but it's a really important, powerful way to secure your business through online accounts. So, technical complexity, you're going to see here, it's not that bad with online accounts, generally speaking, to keep them secure. Overconfidence, it's not going to happen to me. I bought these old firewalls in the past. I'm safe. No, you're not safe unless you know you're safe. And then operational disruption, if I have to change my security like I did 5 years ago, I'm going to have to go through all this trouble. Well, with online accounts, a lot of it is not so bad. A lot of it has to do with making a list of those accounts, going through and securing them. And securing them is not too difficult. But let's get back to our main topic and, why should I bother? Well, we see the damage that can be done, very big damage, and it's a very common way. So let's just run down quickly ways a hacker can take over your bank account. Well, once they log into your bank account, they're in your account. So they can change your credentials. They change your password. They can alter your recovery information. This is the worst possible way. So they can change the email and phone number to their own. Once that's done, there's no way for you to go and prove it's your account or change the password. Another thing they can do, if you haven't enabled multi-factor authentication, now they're going to enable multi-factor authentication on your device, which is kind of crazy. If you didn't turn on multi-factor authentication, so when you're logging into the account, you get a text, put the text in, you get a code texted you put the code in from the text, and now you're into your account. That's multi-factor authentication, right? Well, maybe you didn't turn it on. Now they turn it on. So how are you supposed to get around that when they've changed the password? They're getting a code texted to them. It's just they've just turned the whole thing around and turned it against you. And the hackers are going to know about these kind of security things. They're going to know what to do because it's what they do, right? Another big problem if a hacker takes over your bank account is obviously they're going to maybe transfer funds. Very, very easy to do. Make purchases with online accounts, withdraw money using ATM withdrawals. If they have access to the debit card info, they can just make a debit card that works. Go to the bank account. I've heard this is very common. Withdraw a whole bunch of cash as much as possible, very quickly. They can create and modify beneficiaries to redirect funds, order new cards, new checks, set up automatic payments and subscriptions, access linked accounts like a savings account, investment accounts. Can you imagine if someone invested something that you didn't want to do? Disable alerts so they can turn off alerts to your email and SMS. You might be expecting to see those. They can apply for loans and credit cards using your account details. They can steal your identity. This is the whole idea where people apply for mortgages in your name, and they can close accounts as well and make it really difficult to access the funds. Now, in my own experience, this is where I've seen the most loss for people. Businesses is, they lose access to their bank account, which is an online account. So we should be doing most possible to ensure we're not vulnerable here. And, we're auditing for intrusions. We're checking this out. So I just wanted to go into, the after they get into your account, all the things they can do. Then the other thing they can do, what about if they're, into your Facebook account? I'll just skip through. Well, of course, they're going to change your password. They're going to alter your recovery information. They're going to enable multi-factor authentication against you, change your profile. They might send spam or phishing emails to your friends or followers, download some data you might not want people to see. They might do recommendations or endorsements, order new cards. Actually, that looks wrong. Set up automatic payments. You may be paying for ads through this Facebook account. It might be tied to your company account, and they can do all those kinds of things. So 10 ways to know if your account is vulnerable. So I'm talking about, 3 big ones. So your Microsoft 365 account. And if you have Microsoft 365, you think of this as your email account, but it's probably also tied to your Teams account, to the activation of your software like Word and Outlook, to access to your online files like OneDrive, maybe to your computer backup of your files through OneDrive, and more apps that could be within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So that's what we're talking about with the Microsoft 365 online account. So ways to know if your account is vulnerable. Well, let's think about it in this way. Did you enable MFA? If not, it's vulnerable. Do you ever monitor sign-in activity? Do you check the rules and permissions of the company? Have those changed? Are your administrative accounts on your Microsoft 365 secure? Talking from the point of view of a small business, are there forwarding rules where your email might be forwarded to somebody or something that you don't know or don't want? Using conditional access policies. This is a way to give access to things based on conditions. So it's a way to secure the account, a little bit beyond what we're talking about here. But do you regularly update your software? So the software there could be, Word, Outlook, even your computer software, because you're using Microsoft 365 on those accounts, and your cell phone as well. Do you do security awareness training? If you've never done it, well, you might be more vulnerable. There's security and compliance reports within Microsoft 365. Are you tracking those? And have you implemented advanced threat protection, ATP, which is a great way that Microsoft has to do a lot of this account auditing for you. Now, the thing about it is this is just your Microsoft 365 account, but it's quite sophisticated. It can automate and do a lot of things for you and provide a lot of protection. So that's good to know. But it's not all of your online accounts. It's your Microsoft 365 account, right? So if we look at your Facebook account, again, it's the same thing. How do you know if it's vulnerable? If you didn't turn on multi-factor authentication, it's vulnerable. Look at your active sessions. Do you ever look to see, what devices are connected? And sometimes you get a lot of good info, which device, where it is, what time, what date. Look at recent login activity. Did you update your password regularly? If you have multi-factor authentication, this is much less important. Reviewing authorized apps and websites. This is one that could really catch you, where you might have wanted to access an online account, and it did that whole concept of OAuth or federated accounting, where you say, yes, I want to log into this new cloud thing using my Facebook account. Well, now you're logged in and you've authorized that account to do things. So what is it doing? Like, is it something you want? Are you keeping track? Or is it something you don't even recognize? If so, I would suggest you just get rid of it. So setting up login alerts, this is a great one. It just shows when people log into your Facebook. If you don't have it, you might be vulnerable. Verifying your contact info. Is it all right? Does some of it look wrong? Check your privacy settings. There's a lot we can go into there, but just look at your privacy settings. It's fairly straightforward. Look at your profile info. Does it look right? And then, be wary of phishing attempts on your computer. It's a bigger topic, but, keep your computer software updated. That way people can't get in to go after your online accounts. If you're not doing this, you're vulnerable. On your computer as well, we can, some computers are linked with online accounts to log in. So when you turn the computer on, you're logging in with, let's say, your Microsoft 365 account, and it's linked to an online account. If that ever got hacked, your computer is vulnerable. So on the computer, if they get in and change your online account credentials that way, or figure out your password that way, your computer is another great way for people to go in and get access to your online accounts and do all kinds of things. So I thought the computer would be a good one to talk about because it might not be thought of that way. Make sure you have a firewall on your computer, on your network. Look for unusual processes, little programs running. Check your network connections if something looks a little strange there, like why do I have this VPN connection? Make sure your Wi-Fi network in your business is secure. Back up the information in your business. Make sure all the important information is backed up daily, and also it should be off-site. Be careful with email and downloads. When you're clicking on a link to download something, make sure the website is one you trust. Enable disk encryption. So this is a cool one. I talked about this in another live video where you can turn on disk encryption on your computer. So, when you log into your computer, let's say I'm logging into my computer with my Microsoft 365 account, or just any old account, like, username and password. There is a way to enable encryption on the hard drive. So what that does is it scrambles the data. The data is now scrambled, and it can't be descrambled if someone takes your hard drive unless they know the username and password you use to turn your computer on and log into your computer. So disk encryption is a great way. Regardless of what happens, your data is encrypted on the drive, as long as they don't learn that password on your computer. And then we also see check security settings and policies on the computer. So that's kind of a big topic. So, the Gmail account security instructions. Let's just focus in on, I'm going to go to the computer here, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So I have my Gmail account, and I'm just going to kind of go through, how to do this, right? So before I do that, let me just kind of go through quickly. So we have here that you should be enabling two-factor authentication and monitoring activity in Gmail. That's the first table. So let's just go to it and let's do it. So how do we do it? Well, the first thing we do is we log into our Gmail. So we've logged into my Gmail account, and then you click on your face maybe, or your icon, and you click to manage your Gmail account, and this is what we get, right? So once we're in here, you want to go to security, and in security, we can just see if we have the multi-factor authentication. You can see right there, it just shows right away, so it makes it pretty easy for me to see that I have signing in with two-step verification. It was turned on. That's my recent security activity. If we scroll on down, we'll see two-step verification. If it's not on, then yes, make sure to turn it on. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but generally speaking, you can add your cell phone to your Gmail account, and then we can add the fact that Gmail will notify you on your cell phone that you need to provide this code to log in. So that is enabling two-step verification or multi-factor authentication, the same idea. So you can see in order to do this, we have to log in again, and then, it's already protected, but this is just a general idea of how to do it. A lot of times people will use the phone number or the Google prompt or whatever. You can even do backup codes. So they give us all the security we need. This is the most powerful, best thing you can do to secure yourself, is to set up two-step, they call it two-step verification or multi-factor authentication. So again, you just go in, two-step verification, turn it on. If there's anything you get out of this video or talking about it, it is turn on two-step verification or multi-factor authentication on all your accounts. A good way to do it is tie it to your cell phone as a text, because it's quite hard to hack into that. Sure, there's a way to hack into it, but it's very hard. So please just enable multi-factor authentication, not just in Google, but all over the place. So it would be useful to you. So let's go back in and continue on. So we talked about enabling two-factor authentication. So we're on that one. So now monitoring account activity. So monitoring the account activity, I think the wording has changed here. So if we go back to security, and then we go to review, not review security tips, but review security activity. There it is. So we're in our same old Gmail security, and then we can review the security activity. So you can see these are security alerts and events from the last 28 days. Signing in two-step was turned on, and it was turned off, and a new sign in from Windows. So that was May 16th. Okay, so that's when I did this for a video, actually. So if you want to know a little bit more about what's going on, you can click here, and they're going to give you a little more information. And what do you do if you see unfamiliar activity? If there's recent activity you don't recognize, change your password right away. So changing your password right away would be a great idea. So you see, they kind of make it pretty easy for us, don't they? If we just know where to look and just start off the process, right? So that was all through reviewing the security activity, but monitoring the activity or review security activities. So again, that's the step that we can do. And let's go to our next thing, which is update recovery information. What if someone was logging into your account and you didn't know, and they were just monitoring your account for months and months? And I've had many clients in the past over the years, that's been the exact situation, because they're just waiting for something to do with the account. And they figure, this person's not going to enable multi-factor authentication. I'll just leave it like this and I'll monitor the account. How would you know if that happened? Well, right here, updating the recovery information. You can go in there and take a look, because if you can imagine, if somebody resets the password because they're worried about something, and the recovery information is the hacker, what are they going to do? They're just going to go back in and reset the password, and then they're going to enable multi-factor themselves. So let's go through, updating the recovery information. So again, you go into security here, and you can update your recovery phone number and email address under ways we can verify you. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. So the wording has changed a little bit. It may have to do with the way I've set things up, but you know what you really have to do is you have to add in your information. So if we go to personal information, we can see some information here in the contact info, and you can add in information. So add alternate emails. So this is the way you can add in your recovery email. You see, I have my recovery email in here. That's my work email. So I'm actually going to go through the process right now just to show you how to verify. Oh, so your recovery email is used in case we detect unusual activity or you accidentally get locked out. So I'm clicking to my recovery email, and now I'm just going to bring it up on my computer and put in that code. And we will get that verified. So let me do that right now, just to give a little bit of a demonstration. So now I'm going to my email my gabe@mycgoc.com email, I'm going to have the code in there that proves that, yes, I have access to my recovery email account. And let's see. Okay, I didn't quite get that yet. So this is the funny part of doing stuff live. But you know what? While I'm waiting for that, I mean, I'll just say all I'm really going to do is go to my gabe@mycgoc.com email, put in the recovery code, click verify, and then boom. Now I've got that recovery email added in. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to wait much longer. It usually doesn't take too long, maybe 2-3 minutes to get it. But you know what? I'm just going to skip forward so you're not just staring at the screen here. So yeah, so that's how we get our recovery email added in. You can see that we go into personal info, we add our information, the phone number, and right here I see a phone number that doesn't really make any sense to me. Oh, okay, this was something I was doing for somebody a while back. So you know what? There's a good example. I'm just going to get rid of that phone number because it's no longer needed. So again, personal info, and so I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to remove it. So there's a real life example of me cleaning up my own stuff. So there's my phone number. That's my device. So yeah, you can add your phone numbers in here, and then you can add in your email addresses, and then you go back and you can set them up in your two-step. Now, again, when you're doing two-step verification, it would be good to be a Google prompt or have a text going. That would work best. So that's how we kind of get that part going. So using strong and unique passwords, I may as well just show you, that's the next thing in our list here. We're following along. So use strong and unique passwords. So you go into Google and do that. So, it's pretty easy. We just go to password, we click it, and then we can type in the new password. So that's dead easy. And while we're at it, I'll just show you one way you can do this. So you can click into something like this, and there we have a strong password. We can copy it, and then we can put it into the password. So that's a way to get a strong password if you can't think of one. Definitely don't use something silly like summer 2024. You might be in trouble because a lot of people that are hacking in and doing this kind of stuff, they know about that. They're going to try that first, or their automation is going to try that first. Okay, so strong and unique passwords. The other thing is, let's see here. Yeah, so next thing is review and manage account permissions. So let's go through that. And you know what? Before I get to that, I wanted to mention one small thing. Another way to make the security way better, you may or may not want to do this, is this skip passcode when possible. So if you have this on, that means you can have a trusted device set up. So you log in once, you get the code to your cell phone, you type it in, and now that device is trusted. So if you turn this off, that whole concept of the trusted device is not happening anymore. So this kind of goes through, and you can create a passkey on devices as well, so you can do a little bit more security. So yeah, so there's a little more to look into there. I think I misspoke when I said it was. I know it's related to the device being trusted. If this is off, then I believe you are going to be prompted for the multi-factor authentication. In other words, you're going to get that text and put the code in more often or all the time. So next thing we can do, just going through, is review and manage account permissions. So let's go in there. So again, we go to security, and let's go down, and we see Your connection to third-party apps and services. So these are connections to third-party apps and services. These give some kind of access and shared data and control. So let's just click in and we can just read out here. So yeah, your account has two separate. Okay, to unlock helpful experience, you can choose to share data between your Google account and accounts on third-party apps and services. So we can see that's a little bit of a risk. So you really want to make sure these accounts are ones that you recognize. If they're not ones you recognize, you can just go in and remove them. Otherwise, so see, delete all connections you have with Zillow. So that's what we can do there. If there are some in there you don't use, don't want, not sure what they are, just remove them. Okay, so that's the whole concept there of looking at and managing account permissions. And then the next one, enabling security alerts. This one will be cool. So let's go to that one. I'm always going to start at the top. Okay, so you can get a sense of what we have in here. Oh, looking for security alerts. Okay, security issues found. So I think it's actually review security tips. Yeah. And then if we look in here, safe browsing. Okay, so these are some of the tips. Okay, so I've already turned mine on. So I guess it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we want to, as our instructions say, sorry about that. I was going through here. So we want to follow the instructions to go to the Google account security and then click security and issues found and enable alerts. So what I found here just by clicking through, I've already got mine on. So I can see my security activity. So I can't really show you how to turn it on, but that's what it looks like when you have it on. Very useful. You can just look here, and if anything looks strange, you can just say, okay, fine, I'm resetting my password, and maybe I'm going to check in my personal information and make sure this personal information matches to me, my phone number, my email, etc. Okay. Okay, the next thing we had here is to use trusted devices for accessing Gmail. So use secure devices and connections. Keep devices updated with antivirus software. So again, any device that gets hacked, like a cell phone, a computer, if you go to public Wi-Fi and someone puts in a rogue Wi-Fi access point, you're in Starbucks and it's called Starbucks 123, you click it, maybe you're giving access to the hacker to put remote access software on your computer without you knowing, and now they're going to go into your Gmail account and change everything. The other thing is to log out after each session. So that's another cool thing that you can do with Gmail. And just before I leave, I just thought I would do a quick run through of some stuff and comment on it. So when we go into security, there are security tips. We can just click it. You probably saw that already. And then we can just go through. Some of these things are already on. So that'll just give you a quick way to know if, there's things you can do. That might have been the smartest thing for me to show at the very beginning, but obviously these things change. So there's my security activity. I don't see anything here that worries me, so that's cool. How do you sign into Google? Two-step is on. I don't use passkeys. Shows when my password was last changed. Well, that's useful. Skip password when possible. So I talked a little bit about that. How am I doing two-factor or two-step? I have a Google prompt on one device. If there were multiple devices here, you'd say, oh, wait a minute. And then you can go in and manage the device and remove the unwanted device or unrecognized device. And maybe it's somebody else's device and you just don't want to do it anymore because at the time you thought it was a good idea, but now you don't. So I'm going to go back because that tab is a little slow. So that's most of what I wanted to cover with managing Google and making sure it's secure and not vulnerable. So while I'm waiting for that browser to refresh, let's talk about the top 10 ways to check for intrusion and vulnerabilities in a Microsoft 365 account. So again, I'm not going to do the demo here because it gets a little bit in depth, but if you have a small business, there's a way to enable multi-factor authentication for each user. You just go into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and you turn on multi-factor authentication. You can monitor the sign-in activity. You go to the Admin Center, go to Reports, go to Azure AD sign-ins, and look for suspicious things with the sign-in. So it's basically the same kind of idea with Microsoft 365 that we kind of saw with the demonstration there with the Gmail account, but it's more granular, more options, more flexibility, a little more sophisticated, and easier to use. Actually, you can do a lot of cool things. For example, you can have a report emailed to you daily of the user logins, just to make sure the activity looks good. So now something that might take 5 minutes to go check for a company, you're getting these reports and you can just review. So of course, this is something we can do to help your company. If you want to just get your online account secure, check that you're not vulnerable. Check people haven't already intruded into your accounts right now, that you're not being hacked. I mean, this is the reality of what's going on out there. So we can't diminish the fact that this is actually happening. So the next thing here, table 2, audit roles and permissions and secure admin accounts. So audit user roles, there's a thing called permission creep where you give people access to certain things in Microsoft 365, and then you say, oh, that's too much access. You're only really going to know that if you go back and look. So we're just looking to see maybe they have too much access and scale it back. They don't need this anymore. They're no longer doing this task, for example. And then securing the admin accounts. So just make sure that MFA is enabled on all the accounts. Try to have dedicated admin accounts for separate admin tasks. So maybe one person in the organization is in charge of resetting passwords, and their account has that admin privilege only. And another person in the organization does everything else administratively. So we know if there's a password issue, it's tied to that one admin account. So that's a really important step to take with Microsoft 365. Okay, and then next thing we have is check for forwarding rules. So, and use conditional access policy. So in your mail flow in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, are there any rules that are forwarding emails from, let's say my work account has emails forward to somebody I don't recognize? Whoa, that's the kind of thing we're talking about when auditing and looking for, intrusions. That would be an intrusion. And a vulnerability too. If you never look, you're vulnerable to that happening down the road. And then the conditional access policies, create and configure policies based on user location, device, and risk level. So you come up with that policy and then they get conditional access. And then table 4, regularly update software and conduct security awareness training. So, update your software. All the Microsoft 365 applications are updated, and conduct security awareness training, kind of like what we're talking about here. And then I believe this is the final. Yeah, review security reports and implement ATP. So review security and compliance reports. You go to the Microsoft 365 Security and Compliance Center. You go to reports and you review some alerts and report settings, so you get alerted. The administrator, the person taking care of your Microsoft 365 is alerted when someone from Europe logs into your account, and you're not in Europe. So that would be a good example. There are some default settings and protection that's already there, but it really does make sense to go through and figure out what they are and how they fit with your organization. Then you'll really know if it's possible people are intruding in your account, or you're vulnerable or not. It's all about knowing, right? So the last thing here is the implementing advanced threat protection. So again, you go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, security threat management policy, and then you configure the ATP policies to protect against phishing and malware. Now, you're not going to have access to all of these things. the same way, if you don't have the right licensing with Microsoft 365, a lot of times if you have Microsoft 365 Premium, you get access to a whole bunch of things. If you have Microsoft 365 Standard, you're going to get access to a little bit less, especially when it comes to things like security, compliance, those kind of areas. But hopefully the takeaway from this is that, yes, the way to understand if your online accounts are vulnerable or if there's been an intrusion is to put in all this protection and then go in and check periodically. If you can automate it, if you can get alerts, or if you can even get reports sent like with Microsoft 365, so what's happening with sign-in attempts. If there's a sign-in attempt in Europe and you're not in Europe, wouldn't it be nice to have an alert, being informed about that? Or maybe if you have a bigger organization, you're getting a report once a day of everybody. What are the alerts for the last day? At least you're going to know in that report that something happened, or see trends over time. So yeah, I don't see anyone commenting. So I will have that final video coming next week, and that's going to be more about security hardening and all the steps to take. And it's not going to be just the straightforward ideas, but it's going to be higher level concepts on security hardening your online accounts. So hopefully this has been helpful. And if you have any questions or feedback, please do let me know and we'll get back to you. So that's